Thank you for tuning into the PPP, and that's not the PPP loan. Natalia, did you get a PPP loan?
I did not.
You didn't? You didn't need
Girl,
it?
we'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about it. Were you have a business? Were you afraid to get the PPP?
I was not. The government gave Boss Lady Management $1,000, and they said, "We believe in you. Good luck."
Are you serious?
I said, "Thanks for the stack."
Yeah. So anyway, we're not talking about the PPP loan. We're talking about the Prosperity Playbook podcast that is being presented by the Atlanta Voice News. And today, our episode is called Smart Women Finish Rich.
Ooh.
Which is so befitting for our guest today, Miss Natalia Stroman. Thank you for being here, boss lady.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So listen, we're going to jump right into it, guys. We always have an icebreaker, and it always starts with a quote. So this is your quote.
Okay.
I want you to give me your perspective or your point of view on this quote.
Okay.
You can't hit a home run unless you step up to the plate. You can't catch a fish unless you put your line in the water. You can't reach your goal unless you try. That's K. Siglerman. What do you think about that quote, and what does it mean to you as an entrepreneur?
Baby, you can't win it if you're not in it.
Okay.
Very simple.
For our audience out there, how would you break that quote down to somebody who is striving to be?
An entrepreneur?
To be.
Just to be.
To become
Ooh.
who they're trying to become. Because
You
that's
gotta
going to
get-
lead us into the next question for you.
You have to get out the bed.
Yeah.
You know, the day starts and everyone says, be grateful you opened your eyes today, right? But they don't tell you, you have to get out the bed.
Okay.
You have to experience the day. So the first thing to not be so cliche is you have to try. You have to put one step forward. So essentially, if you can't even get to the pond, right? And you can't even put your line in the pond, how do you expect to eat?
Exactly. So you got to get up first.
You got to get up.
Okay, cool beans. So let me ask you this. What kind of person do you need to become to build the life you want to live?
Authentic.
Okay.
Because being fake is a very hard job. Day in and day out.
Yeah.
That's probably the hardest job ever that I could imagine having, is not being authentic, because it requires a level of discipline and consistency that showing up as yourself doesn't require.
But don't you need that for yourself too? The level of discipline and consistency that's needed to be fruitful, not just successful?
For sure. But I think people are putting so much emphasis on it that procrastination kind of paralyzes us, because we say you have to be consistent every day. You have to make $250 a day in order to be a millionaire. And it becomes very overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
When I look at it, it's easier to be me.
Yeah.
I don't have to be disciplined to be myself.
Okay.
I just have to participate in the day, and myself will show up.
So you don't believe people need discipline to become who they need to become?
I honestly have not focused on discipline in my journey. So for me, discipline looks different.
Okay.
And if you think of a spiritual aspect, right, and your steps being ordered, right, that does not take discipline. It takes faith. And faith, in my opinion, does not necessarily take discipline. It takes a perspective.
What about consistency?
Consistency renders the results.
Okay.
But I don't think that it's required to be you. To participate, to be on the journey. But it does render a result that inconsistency won't give you. But I don't believe that discipline and consistency are the only way. I don't think waking up and saying, here are my 6-month goals, here are my 5-year goals, how do I get to that goal, works for everybody.
Right.
And if we just simplify it for our people, maybe the perspective could change, that if I just start as me and just show up as me, the more times I do that, the more I'll get the results that I'm looking for, whatever that goal may be, without it being too specific and militant.
Okay. So I'm going to take it there. Okay. I'm about to take it there with you. So it's easy for somebody like Natalia to say, I can just show up as me. You're Earthquake's daughter.
True.
So when people see this podcast and they're like, well, she's sitting up there talking about you just got to show up as yourself, when she's someone that has been put in position and have had access to things that I wouldn't have access to, or people or resources. So it's easy for her to sit up there and say that. Expound on that for me.
I think that is an assumption.
Do you really think it's an assumption?
No one's ever asked me, have you even lived in a house? But the assumption that I've been given something, right, more than someone else is easy for someone who could be paralyzed by this discipline and consistency, right, is who I'm speaking to. Because all I had to do was be me. I was put in position because I was me. I was headed to law school. I had my own path, my own trajectory. I was the first person to go to college in my family and graduate. Shout out to Grambling State University. But it's easy because you can look at it and say, well, she was given something. Well, what do I have that I was given? If you look at my father, we just now got to a notoriety where people could say that's Earthquake. When we had a club here and I was growing up in middle school, I couldn't say my father was Earthquake and receive a benefit.
Right.
My last name is Stroman, not Murphy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different when my father's never had a sitcom. He's never been in a movie, right? So I have the same access that someone who owns a business in Atlanta. Oh, your parents own Magic City, or your parents own Pascal's. They have the same resources and access that I do, which is just money feels safer around people that they assume already has it.
Right.
So I learned very quickly to not act like I needed it. And then it became an option for me to obtain it.
You basically became in flow. That's what I like to say.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let me ask you this. As CEO of Boss Lady Management Group, BLMG, I love that. How savvy are you when it comes to money?
Very savvy.
And
money
what does
comes
that
to me
mean?
effortlessly,
Easily.
easily. That's
one of my
dog.
affirmations.
My money is, we have fun.
Okay. So explain to the audience how you got to the point of where you can affirm that, believe it, and it actually show up in your life. And especially when it comes to business.
Honestly, stop chasing it.
Yeah.
Once I realized that wasn't the goal, it became easier for it to be a result or a byproduct of my work.
Yes.
But when I was like, I gotta get it, I got in trouble.
Yes.
My mind frame was, if I could just, I could stop, or I would. We all have that goal. If I had 60,000, baby, I'd move out this apartment. As soon as you get 60,000, you're like, well, I might need to stay in this apartment.
And I may need to do this, and I might need to do that. I always say when you chase money, it runs further and further away from you when you're chasing it versus attracting it.
And that's hard for us in an urban aspect to really think when you're struggling. The only thing I have not experienced is a repo.
Okay.
Because I love my vehicles. Thank God I haven't had to sleep in my vehicles.
Right. You haven't had the homeless story, because it's like every entrepreneur. You had the
homeless, however.
Homeless?
This is the crazy part about homelessness, if you will, right? That we don't talk about enough. You can be homeless when you feel like there is no place you're welcomed. And when you don't have a place that someone sets a space for you, it's very easy to be homeless. So thankfully, what I would consider being homeless was in transition between people who attempted to create a safe space for me. But it didn't make sense because I had a degree. They don't tell you when you graduate, you are the brokest and the poorest and the impoverished you'll probably ever be.
In that order. Yes.
I was richer in college than I was with my degree.
Right.
I had friends who, were working at Old Navy and pricing the dollar flip-flops and, organizing the panties and Victoria's Secret for a low amount. And you're like, this is not where I thought I would be post-degree.
Right.
And I think when you are transitioning from college housing, right? And you don't have the income to get a apartment, right? And you're raised in a urban family who assumes at this age you should figure it out. Homelessness and transition is easy for people, right? Especially when you're coming from a single parent household who finds relief in your absence, because that's a less mouth to feed. The water bill is cheaper, the light bill is cheap. You get what I'm saying? So you coming anywhere is a cost. And if that person, parental or not, doesn't see the value in creating that safe space for you, you have to figure out how to create that own space for you. And they don't teach you that in college.
Yeah, they don't. They don't teach you life after college. But my nonprofit does. SSE does.
501c3 work.
Yes.
Amen.
So listen, Natalia, so you said from homelessness to boss lady management. Let's talk through that journey. Can you tell our audience what you had to do and some of the decisions you needed to make in order for you to become boss lady?
Well, I am going to be very honest with you. I thought I was going to be set up when I graduated. You know, I had this idea, you know, that wasn't originated in my mind, but, you know, it was set up that when I graduated, I was going to have somewhere to stay. I was going to have a brand new Benz. I was going to have money in the glove box. Like, I just idealized this graduation, right? So much so that I graduated on my 22nd birthday.
Wow.
I found out Grambling State was having their last summer commencement.
Okay.
And it was falling on July 25th. And I was like, I have to graduate on my birthday. This is me, right?
So you're a Leo.
Absolutely.
Leo
All day,
woman.
baby.
Okay.
So I'm like, it's about to get live on the 2-5. We about to get this degree, you know, roll out the
And what's your degree in?
mass communications.
Okay.
Public relation concentration.
Definitely fitting
sure.
for what you do and who you are.
So
Tell people what you do and who you are, even though I've told you guys who she is.
Who am I? I am a mogul in the making.
Yes.
You know, Natalia Stroman, Boss Lady Management Group CEO. I do management, strategic consulting, strategy, and I exclusively manage artists and universities and, you know, consult for big name companies that do national tours.
Yeah.
And I just get to really be in the mix of the tastemakers and be able to say, you know, not only as a Black woman, but as a millennial, we don't like that. Please don't do that.
Let's do it this way instead.
When they say there wasn't a Black woman in the room, I'm the Black woman in the room.
You're the diversity and inclusion.
For sure.
Okay.
I love being the only chip in the cookie. You know, I love explaining to our people how my biggest joy is not having to code switch once I've, you know, carved out my little space, and again, authentically being myself and it still be respected. So that's me. That's what I do.
Is it hard to maintain this status of boss lady, I guess, energy that you've created for yourself? Is it challenging or is it fun?
I would say it's fun because I'm a firstborn. So I don't know anything other than to be
You're
bossy.
a visionary.
Yes.
You're the leader.
It's it.
You've been the line
I'm second
leader.
mama. You know, my father, you know, was married and divorced, not to my mother, but to my brother's mother. So being, you know, that matriarch dynamic to kind of give insight, you know, is what I'm used to. I'm the quintessential big sister. So I feel like in a past life, I've always been an auntie. I've always been a big sis. So I, you know, bring that energy. It's more challenging if I can't be that. And how to convey what I feel or what I see when that's not welcomed, how I need to deliver it. So that's more challenging than, you know,
Anything
keeping
else.
the idea, for sure.
So there are a lot of myths and misconceptions when it comes to our community and when we reach a certain level of entrepreneurship or success. What are some of the biggest myths and misconceptions people have about money and finances, especially for entrepreneurs?
Well, I'm gonna go back to the question that you asked me and tie it in about the journey and how, I kind of transitioned, right? Because that was the journey for me of when you're the first, you don't really get advice. And
You
I
gotta
found
learn it
that
out your
you
learn
have to
on your
learn,
own.
you have to get guerrilla style is what they called me. Like I learned everything guerrilla style. And one thing that my father said to me that I used to be angry about that I've recently been appreciative of is asking him why he didn't tell me certain things about the business, why I could executive produce something and not know to write myself in the budget and why that would happen. And he said, if I told you, it would handicap you. And I used to be like, man, why do we do that? Right?
Yeah.
Why do we not pass information freely? But once I realized how hard our, ancestors and our family members before us had it, right? I understood how oxymoronic in his mind giving information is, right? So I had to be okay with it wasn't a personal thing, right? It's a generational thing. They don't share.
And they keep a lot of secrets.
They do, good or bad. They don't share the good ones. They don't share the bad ones. We focus on the why didn't you tell me about Uncle Charlie, but we didn't know Aunt Mary was a millionaire in the family either, So it's really the misconception is that if you ask, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Or that once you get there, that's all you have to do is do the work.
Right.
They will allow you to start at the bottom, even if you come in at the top. And I think if you see someone who has maintained a certain level, right, without overdoing it. I've never driven a Rolls Royce, and I've had nice cars, but it's never been to that level, right? When you start seeing people who have maintained things, I stayed in Buckhead for 5 years, where it's like, if you're able to maintain a certain lifestyle, that person is doing something, right? Fraud does not last that long.
It doesn't.
Criminality, fast money does not last that long. And even if you don't know what someone does, you have to respect the consistency of, I've never seen this person less than that. Even when I was in my transitional period, I was still maintaining a level of authenticity to myself because it wasn't who I was based on who my parents were or are. It's based on who I am and who I was. So I think the biggest myth is thinking that the people that you see got there easily when maintaining is always the hardest. There is a show, The Lottery Ruined My Life.
Yeah.
And people like, what do you mean? Go look at the people who have won the lottery and see how quickly they got back or even worse than where they were. And I think that's the hard part is too much is given, much is required.
Absolutely.
And that requirement is a myth before you get there. So
sustainability
for
is
sure.
Sustainability. So I've been doing this since 2018. And by God's grace and mercy, I'm still doing it.
Amen.
And like you said, the maintaining of being an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur since 2018 has been one of the most challenging things of my life, but I'm here. I'm still alive. I still got everything. Like you said, I don't do no repos now. I don't do no light cutting off. We don't do none of that.
Right.
But it has been a challenge. And I feel like sometimes the challenge comes from people within our communities. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Do you feel like the interview that Cat Williams did on the Club Shay Shay show, do you feel like that was a division and a subtraction when it comes to our community and not an uplifting type of thing, especially when he's made statements about your dad? What are your feelings about that? What do you have to say towards that?
That's interesting. You're actually the first person to ask me in a professional sense. So let me
In a political way.
It's division only because we refuse to dialogue. It could have been a conversation.
Yes.
It's now an attack. Because what I have always wanted is all the people that were named to sit at a round table discussion and dialogue about it, fight about it, let us, record it and really get to the bottom of how they feel, because I'm a green room baby.
Yeah.
I can't tell you one thing that I heard on the Cat Williams interview that was new.
Okay.
That I hadn't heard
before
in a green room, green rooms are like locker rooms, so I've been in the green room since single digits.
Okay.
So for me, I've heard the chatter and the opinion of, each other. And then there was no dialogue.
Right.
There's not, when you're in high school, you might have a beef with someone, but there's a dialogue at the lunch table, at recess, after school. We have to gather and communicate. Well, what did you hear? Well, what did you hear? Right. And there's no forum for that. And comics aren't allowed to compete against each other. And I'm not sure where that came from in that generation. But it's frowned upon for you to kind of attack your fellow comedian. But in sports, it's okay
to be competitive.
Yes,
it's okay.
It's okay. And we don't have that. And it's unfortunate because now it is divisive, because we don't know if we're allowed to participate as the children's table in the grown folks dialogue.
Exactly.
We have to wait until everybody dies and then have a conversation. But Cat has always been an ally in my family. I have always been a huge fan of his. Brian Alden, North American Entertainment, is Cat Williams' promoter, so he would always give me tickets to go so I could see him. I've met Cat before. So I didn't take it the way the world took it.
Okay.
But I also felt like, true or not true, there were so many opportunities to have a dialogue. For example, the question that I'm sure you're getting to is the whole illiterate, comment that.
Yeah, that's kind of, to me, I love Cat Williams and all of that. And I'm not trying to bring that into this show because we're talking about money and we're talking about economic empowerment. And to me, when it comes to economy, especially in our community, we're so divided. We're so just the division amongst Black people is sickening. And for someone, and I'm gonna be honest, I've had dialogue. Everybody's been talking about the Club Shay Shay show and what's been going on.
For sure.
And a lot of people is like, I don't even like Ricky Smiley post no more, or I haven't sat down and watched Lyft because now they have an opinion about somebody.
Yeah.
And
by the way, I love my Uncle Ricky.
I love Ricky Smiley too. He's so funny. But what I'm saying is some people have literally took that particular interview and now have chosen a side.
They always choose a side. Comedy is subjective.
Okay.
It's always been that way.
Okay.
What's new is seeing someone type, I won't like a post anymore. Right?
Yeah.
That's new. But they've always looked at a flyer and been like, he not funny. I'm not buying it. Whoever the he may be. But I think what is more impactful, and you're spot on about it being divisive, is what could have been a counter again conversation, right?
Yeah.
True or not true about the illiterate conversation, it is a fact that a lot of our Black males who are successful are struggling academically.
R. Kelly, he couldn't read.
Right? And these people are geniuses. They're great. They have God-given unique talents, right? But no one will be honest with you and say, I struggled in math. I struggled in math so much that I don't even know what an accountant is. I don't know what they do. I don't know the difference between having an accountant, having a financial planner, having a CPA. And what do? We start sleeping with someone who can help us in our inadequacies.
Yes, our ignorance.
Good at this. So I started dating that.
Yeah.
Or I started dating someone that had a CPA. Now my ex's person does my taxes still, right? Because that's the only person I felt safe enough to pillow talk and say, baby, I'm dyslexic. You know what I'm saying? So I think if they were more communicative,
Yeah.
it would have opened a dialogue for the person that chose a side to also be healed from whatever is ailing them that makes them hide behind these internet comments.
Yeah.
And I think the bigger picture is we missed an opportunity.
Yeah, we did.
To be honest about whatever it is that we've done or experienced, whether it's, Dave Chappelle, made a comment that, Kat didn't bring up any white artists, right?
Comedians, yeah.
Any comedians. We don't feel comfortable being able to say we've been wronged from people. It's wrong if it's someone that looks like us, and we're, crying victim if it's somebody that doesn't look like us.
Right.
So we could have had a discussion about that hurt my feelings.
Yes.
Because I'm struggling with this.
So why would you get on TV and say that when you know that this is what I got going on? And, as far as Black people, we ain't, a lot of us are nothing but followers and nothing. Instagram followers.
True, but you get on there and say that because, like he said, someone has to open the conversation.
Okay.
If it's been something, and it escapes me everything that he said because Lord knows it was a long interview, right?
Yeah, it was.
But if there was something in there that that said, "Hey, I once owned a puppy and I it was a Rottweiler, right? And I didn't want anybody to know that." How freeing would it be to see someone do the Eminem 8 Mile? Yes, I owned a Rottweiler, and I'm still saying I'm funnier than you. And us be able to be freed in that, But we have this, is it true, is it not true in our community that we're more comfortable in than just saying, yes, I'm Floyd Mayweather or I'm Fantasia and I have this, but look at the heights that I've been able to reach. And absent of that, I'm not going for a Pulitzer. I'm going to be the heavyweight champion of the world, and I succeeded.
I think that's the follow-up of, okay, I might can't read, but baby, I done got hair.
Right.
Just based on talent alone, just based on showing up. Like you
being
said,
yourself.
Being your authentic self.
Bernie Mac did it, how he spoke, and not saying, and of course, my father can read, illiterate, I think is a stretch, but I will say in context, reading a script and being an actor as a thespian,
totally different things,
is work. It has a different level of discipline and consistency in that field that's required, that everybody doesn't just get to show up as themselves and be that thespian on screen.
That's right.
I think that illiterate is a incorrect use of the word, and there are some opportunities for everyone to kind of say, this is not an easy job, and the result can sometimes not be impacted by your fame, but really by the result on screen. And everyone will tell you, we shoot things daily that never come out. You might have a podcast episode and you look back and say, baby, that was not how we thought it was going to be. And you scrap it.
We have one in a possible. We shot we shot 4 episodes the last time we were here.
Yes.
And our executive producer was like, I see one in a possible. And we're like,
I thought we had it. Action, baby. We were spot on,
Sitting with our legs crossed, having this dialogue about financial literacy, but like you said, sometimes you have to
scrap it.
So how do we debunk myths, and when it comes to spreading inaccurate information in our community so that we can come together in unity? Because unity is the secret weapon, right?
Very, very true.
So how do we do that?
I hope I don't sound ridiculous.
You can use up to 7 cuss words too, just FYI.
Oh, well, shit then. I think more people have to tell the truth.
Okay.
Because just for this alone, I could have said, hey, that's not something that I want to address.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. I want to go forth, right? Because you're so afraid. well, why didn't she say it was a lie? Why didn't she, say this? And I think it's purposeful. Again, my degree is in PR, so I know what I'm doing. I think I have to be honest, but also leave an avenue for others to be honest. And it takes a level of discernment when you're using the truth, and be cognizant that everything doesn't need to be heard at that point. There needs to be a follow-up. The conversation has to continue.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it's about. Debunking anything, I believe, comes with an abundance of truth in equal proportion as we are being fed lies.
Yeah.
And let me discern. But if I hear more lies on Instagram than I hear truth, you're making me go seek it out. The lies are fast food, right?
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna need some soul food, fast food with a drive-through. I'm gonna need to be able to get some collard greens without getting out of my car. And we're gonna have to adjust once we see that's where the community is going. But people have to be more truthful about their experiences and not wait until people die to say, I can't believe he went through that. He went through that. I was there. It was awful. We still made it.
Yes.
Let me share my experience with you so that way you know my journey and how to, authentify your own experiences.
I think this conversation has led us to understanding that we need to create an awareness for millennials, because technology, even though it has evolved to where it is, technology, Instagram, TikTok, i.e., just to say those, for example, Twitter, X, whatever, you got people on these sites saying, hey, I made $1 million in 30 days. Let me show you how, but pay me $5,000. And you see them living this lavish life, but you didn't see them working at Amazon just to have some health insurance. You didn't see them I know insurance brokers right now driving around with no insurance right now because they can't afford it, but because they're trying to keep up with just the maintaining of their bills and just keeping up with their agency.
Yeah.
I know people that have made $1 million, but before they got to that $1 million, they was about to lose everything that they had. They don't talk about that. So how do we spread awareness on, you can get this, but you got to remember it's a journey? How would you speak to that?
I think people who have made it and maintained that level of height need to speak before the people who just made it. Because what's happening, and I am not a fan of the empowerment play on women, the selling of hope.
I don't believe in hope. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Raise your glasses, let's bottomless mimosa. You can do it. You can do it. Get up and journal. Say your affirmations and the money will come.
It don't work like that.
For the low price of $500 a plate, come see me every Saturday and let's all dress up in pink. That's not going to cut it, because I tell people that too is a business. That young person, young woman, whomever, right? If they're making 80% of their income teaching you to do something they don't do anymore, I'm concerned. That's just me. But I also understand when people are saying, be consistent, be disciplined, believe in yourself, invest in yourself, invest in myself. Where? Where am I investing? So when I get that pop-up that says, for $500, I'll teach you. That's that ICDC college. Get up off the couch. We see you laying there doing nothing. And I feel compelled now because someone said, invest in myself. And this is my first opportunity. So it's difficult to really figure out how you should be investing in yourself. And I struggle with that from a business because I have a lot of people that need education but don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I'm explaining to them my consultation fee is minimal in my mind, but it lets me know if you're serious. Because if I'm going to sit here and drop these jewels on you, but $250 is too much, you're not at the point where you're ready to receive them, where that looks like that was nothing. You're looking for a tell me how I can get out this situation
real quick.
And I can't do the quick thing. I can give you the perspective that'll be like, I got it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it this way. Now I know. It's like when you walk up to your teacher and you were struggling with a problem, but now you realize how to do a division problem. You're like, okay, that's what I was missing. Now I can complete my work. Those are the people that I'm looking for. But I get a lot of people who play promoter.
Yes.
You know, are pulling stuff out of their 401k. Please stop doing that. Is this my camera? Please stop being a promoter with your savings. Go get you some education, start small on everything that you do, and build up a resume. I get so many people that will say, oh, I want Chico Bean, but don't know how to even curate an offer.
So Chico Bean is, just for the audience.
Oh, yes. He's one of my artists.
That you manage?
Yes, that I manage.
Okay.
He was actually my first client on Boss Lady Management when I launched in 2014.
Okay.
So yes, he's one of those that I would call my success story. My dad was already built in, so he was more of a PR, generational connection thing for me.
Okay.
For Chico, it was literally a growth, you know, shooting in the gym. How do we get this to this? So
y'all kind of grew together.
Yes, very much grew together. Very much grew together because I got to apply my knowledge. Yes. You know, in a way where they can say that was her.
Yes.
You know,
that strategy worked.
Yeah. That, you know, and I have placed bets and people have bet against me and I was like, that's not gonna work, and told him like, she's gonna ruin your career. And it's come out to always be right. Never bet against me.
I know
the people will tell you.
I
don't
love
do
that.
It. Just don't bet at all. Okay.
We're wrapping up in just a minute. I just want to ask you what do we need to do to fix financial literacy in our community? Like, we're having this conversation, this dialogue, but we know some people are gonna scroll right past it because
for sure
they don't want to hear the boring stuff. They rather hear the drama-filled division, subtraction type things.
For sure.
So how do we fix that? How do we make it fun? How do we bring awareness to it?
I want to plug a book that I read that was very helpful to me.
Okay.
It's called The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom. I felt like that spoke to me in an urban sense.
Okay.
I used to follow Susie Orman. If anyone is into financial, so you know,
Dave Ramsey, all of the,
you know, when they're like, "Show me the money. I've got 50,000 in liquid. I get this," and I'm like, "Liquid?
What is that?"
Right?
Yeah.
I think that book for me shaped the urban myth of what we would assume. You go to college, you get loans, you'll come out, right? And it spoke to our dysphoria and for me, or diaspora, excuse me. And I feel like we need more things in our voice. Stop code switching when you're speaking to us.
Yes.
Right. I code switch very well.
Yeah.
But I am speaking to my sister, assuming my sisters are watching, and I need them to hear it in their language.
Absolutely.
I need to hear financial literacy in my tone.
Yes.
It need to be,
in my
voice. Hey, shawty, if you give me $100, this how you could flip it, but this what you're gonna have to do. And it's like, okay, teach me how. How we have mathematicians on the streets. Okay, I can pull a guy from the west side of Atlanta that can do a fraction better than
in their
head. How do I make this or this? And if this costs per price, what does that end up to? He'll
spit it out.
Spit it out. Speak to him in his language.
Yes.
Tell him, if you take $2 off of this, or 2 points off of this, as you know, the streets would say, and apply it to everyday life, stocks and bonds, they would understand. We would understand. But if you are talking to us like we're out of the conversation until we can hear it in someone else's voice, I think we're always going to miss the mark. And that's why when people become successful, they gravitate to other successful people, because those people are hanging out on the yachts. They're still smoking. They're still drinking. They're just doing it in a safer environment. exchanging information, and their richness is getting richer. So we've got to write more books. We've got to do more seminars, and we've got to stop code switching when we're talking to our community and not associating dialect to intellect.
I love that. I love that. So let's have some fun.
Okay.
Go ahead and take a swig. Go ahead and take a swig. Do you believe it's your right to be rewarded with riches based on the value you create for others?
I used to, but it made me angry. Because when you create value for someone and they don't pay you, it breaks your heart in a different type of a way.
Yeah.
So I have released the assumption that I'm going to be paid for something that I created. And really, shout out to Tyler Chronicles. He's also one of my artists that I manage, and he's a very prolific writer. And he probably has been stolen from more than anyone I personally have managed. And it let me feel a part of a community where I felt like I was isolated. And now it's not my right. My right is to continue to be prolific, because as much as I create, God will give.
Energy currency.
It will come back. So if I do it, like we said earlier, for the money.
Yeah.
I'm going to get 15% off of this. I need this, will it? It's not going to happen. Now I just do dope things.
Yeah.
If I do something dope, they're going to know I was the dopeness.
Yes. Yes.
And if they want more dopeness, they're going to have to come to me, and then I will be able to articulate, this is what my fee is. This is what I charge, and I'm happy to continue something that you already like. But a right, hard.
Okay. Love that. TikTok or IG?
I am not on TikTok.
Why?
I'm a dancer.
Okay.
My background is dance.
So why? That's the perfect place for you.
Yes, but that's why I'm not on it.
Okay.
The way I would be. They would be like, is she doing what? No, I love dance and music in a whole different way. That's the reason why I did not run over there.
Okay.
But I plan on getting on TikTok because it is a good information.
The information, and not only the information, but the resources, the stories, the history, the debunking of all of the things that we didn't know about, especially when it comes to the spiritual realm, is there.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Teach me something.
So if you ask me TikTok or IG, I'm picking TikTok all day.
Okay.
Yeah. So you say IG for you,
I say IG for me.
Right now. Okay. PJ or first class commercial flights?
You know what? Shout out to B. Simone. Okay. That's my girl. She's the first person that put me on a private jet.
Okay.
I loved it. It was a different experience, but I would have to say first class because that's where my money is.
Exactly. You get your reward.
But I'll get there. Yes, I'm a big Delta girl.
I love Delta, but people don't know it's cheaper to fly PJs than first class a lot of times.
I've not seen that yet.
Yeah, it is.
I've looked and I'm like, it's still a lot of money.
It is, but there's a certain way you could him 500. I don't know if you know who that is.
Sis.
Girl, I took one of his classes and he literally taught us how to be able to fly PJs without. And you know what? Shout out to boss lady, because I purposely didn't say private jet. I said PJ just to see if she knew what it was. She knew exactly what it was. She was like, shout out to B. Simone, like you said.
The B.
Yes. Okay, last question, and we're going to wrap it up. Cryptocurrency or stocks and bonds?
Stocks and bonds.
Why not
I know a lot of people that lost thousands of dollars in crypto. And, you know, I grew up in the first iPhone generation. So, you know the rule, wait till the second batch comes out. So the crypto was cool, but we should have waited until the second batch came out. So that way we would be a little bit more savvy to knowing what is insured by the National Treasury and what is not insured.
Yeah, because it's not. It's unregulated. And it's a never-ending calculation that has never been solved. So if you get into certain crypto situations, I'm in financial services too. I'm an insurance broker.
Okay.
But people don't know that when you get into crypto, that it's a never-ending equation that never ends. And if you put your money, You put your money in a black market and the person dies, all your money dies with that person.
But it probably died once you gave it to them.
Ooh.
They've just been rolling, the speedometer, if you will, back. Like, because I forgot the movie that I saw, but there was also a movie, about it, and just, how dangerous, the scamming became, right? So now when you look at stocks like GameStop and how the short sale, became a collective and things were changed and implemented afterwards, right? That's the thing that I like. Go into a system, fuck it up.
Yeah.
Make them rewrite it because you found a way that they didn't know that you were going to find, right? That's what really gets me going. So go to a system that's already built in, that isn't, designed for you, but that's what casino and gambling is. So I feel safer that way than being robbed.
High risk, high reward.
For sure.
That's what's
Bet
up.
on black, baby.
What do you want to tell our audience? What is the most essential piece of information that you want our audience to leave from this particular conversation? To leave with from. Did I say that right? To leave with from?
To leave with from here.
Yes.
Got you. Sister. I got you. None of us know. Nobody knows. And you should feel safe knowing that because nobody knows, we are all in the same race with the same time. And if you figure it out, you figured it out for yourself, and you will be amongst those who figured it out for themselves, and you will quickly find a community to collaborate with. So it might not be in a book, but get outside. Go somewhere where you can have a conversation, where you feel safe enough to ask and say, hey, I'm not proficient in this. Can you help me? Get off of the blog sites, right? And go more to YouTube blogging. Play it in the background. I love background noise when I'm working. You never know what your mind is going to obtain and sustain in your journey. So don't ever think that because someone saves better than you, that someone taught them to save. Just figure it out on your own.
I love that. Let's cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
See y'all next week.
Bye.